It's 22 minutes past 8. Thanks for being with us on this Tuesday morning. Let's bring you some other news today. The Metropolitan Police say its response to climate change demonstrations in London will be robust after 280 people were arrested during protests organised by environmental campaign group Extinction Rebellion.
You might remember last April more than 1,000 protesters were arrested after similar events brought some parts of the city to a standstill.
Well, the Deputy Assistant Commissioner for the Metropolitan Police, Lawrence Taylor, joins us now from central London. Thank you for being with us and good morning to you. I know you were listening to that last interview as well. It's heartbreaking to think what the families there are going through, but on to other matters. In terms of trying to get Londoners to work, how are you facing that challenge today with the Extinction Rebellion protesters on the streets of the capital?
Yeah, good morning. As you said, we've got a very robust policing plan in place. We've actually been arresting more people overnight. We've now arrested over 320. That's a fifth in day one compared to the numbers that we arrested in April. We are anticipating more protests today. We've got large numbers of police officers coming into central London to help us manage the disruption. And we have got a number of tents in roads, and what we've found overnight is that people have glued themselves within these tents. They've locked themselves to the tent, so it is going to make our job more challenging and take time to clear some of the obstructions that we're faced with today.
Back in July, a former Met head of counter-terrorism, Richard Walton, said police should end their soft touch approach to Extinction Rebellion and come down harder on them. It's a really fine balance, isn't it? I know from your perspective in terms of getting that action and the assertive nature of your policing right, and yet not going over that line.
That's right, and the policing responsibility is to provide that balanced approach. But I think what's really important that whilst protest is a fundamental human right, that doesn't give you the right to disrupt other people's lives to the extent that they are. People's livelihoods are being damaged, huge disruption to London. We had over 50 bus routes cancelled yesterday, and I know of a number of stories of people struggling to get to work. It's really important that the protesters understand that impact. Today we've actually put conditions on the protest under the Public Order Act where people can only now lawfully protest at Trafalgar Square. That's on the pedestrianised piece of Trafalgar Square off the road. Anybody else protesting within that Westminster area linked to Extinction Rebellion are committing an offence and they will be arrested today.
So this morning, are you able to say, do you feel you're in control of these protests?
As I said earlier, these things do take time. We have got a very robust policing approach. We've arrested an awful lot of people. But once you arrest people, we have to take them through custody. That process takes a long time. The protesters who we're arresting are being advised not to help us, not to provide their details, which is taking even longer to process them through custody. And as we take police officers off the street, that's fewer that we have to be making those arrests. We have gone to other forces. Yesterday, we've asked for additional assistance for officers to come to the capital and help us with dealing with the protest. But it is very disruptive and frankly, police officers shouldn't be being sucked into London. We should be policing the rest of London as we are and doing all the things that we ought to be doing.
In terms of that charging process, you talked about those arrests back in April. I think there were more than 800 charges back there. How many actually were convicted? How many convictions were there?
So at the moment they're still proceeding through court. It's over 250 people have now received a criminal record, so they've been convicted through court. Of those 880 plus charges, they are still progressing and we expect that number to go up significantly.
And can I just ask you as well, in terms of the challenges that you face as a police force, where does this, I'm not asking you to give an arbitrary number or anything, but in terms of the challenges you face, where does this rate, this Extinction Rebellion protest that we're going to see for the next few days?
It's a really challenging thing to police. We do have to provide that balance, but it does suck in an awful lot of resource that should and could be policing other communities in London. It causes a huge disruption to people, as I've mentioned. It's affecting people's livelihoods. It costs an awful lot of money. The protests in April cost over £16 million to protest, and I think people need to understand the impact that this has and protest responsibly. Please go to Trafalgar Square, stop disrupting the roads and allow us to carry on policing the capital.
OK, Lawrence Taylor, thank you for your time this morning. That's Lawrence Taylor from the Met Police talking about Extinction Rebellion protesters who, as we've been showing you this morning, are in London and will be there for the next few days as well.
Coming up on Breakfast, Harry